just a few minutes before all of the major events happened, I had pulled up beside Melissa and Evan in the kayak. We were about to enter another section of what was called rapids. They weren't too bad, but they still made us swirl. And I looked at Melissa and I said, "Let's go kayaking," they said. "It'll be fun," they said. And about that time, as I'm following Mark on his six into the rapids, I started going farther and farther over to the left and toward the trees, and I could not stop. It didn't matter how hard I paddled. I didn't pedal, I was trying to pedal too, but I paddled and paddled and paddled, and I still ended up sideways up against some trees. And I sat there for about what seemed like an eternity, and then slowly the boat started tipping over. And I knew I was about to fall in, and sure enough, I did. And as I went under the water, I didn't touch bottom, so I knew the water was pretty deep right there. It was over my head anyway. And then when I came up, I started screaming at the top of my lungs to help, help. And I knew that Mark was already around the bend. I knew that Melissa and Evan and Ellie were behind me. Elias was already, I think he was already around the bend too, but he knew that I had fallen. And I scrambled, and I couldn't think. I didn't know what I needed to do. I've never been in a kayak before, and I've certainly never capsized in a kayak. So as I was trying to scramble and get my bearings, the water took me further into the trees, and I was able to grab hold of a tree, a small branch, and my feet tucked in between two roots at the bottom, or close to the bottom somewhere, and I was able to stay right there. The water pressure on my legs was awesome, and I mean awesome in a bad way. It almost knocked me over. Of course, I had on the life jacket and all the safety equipment, but it was still pushing and pushing and pushing against my legs, but I didn't let go of the paddle, because you see, I knew if I lost the paddle, I'd have to pay $40, and I didn't want to pay $40. So I stood there, and I waited, and I prayed, and then I looked up, and I saw Elias coming back toward me. And all I could think was that I was going to watch my grandson get hurt, because he was trying to help me. And I screamed for him to get back in the boat and go. Just go. I'll be okay. Because you see, I was talking to God the whole time too. And I knew it would be okay, no matter what happened. A few minutes later, a group of young people, they were probably in their late teens, early 20s, came along, and one of them got close enough to me that I could hear him, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm okay." And of course I was in a lot of stress and a lot of distress, but they all stopped, and they were trying to figure out the best way to help me. And I kept screaming at them to go on, go live your lives, I'll be fine, my son is going to come back for me. I knew he couldn't come back up the river, because the rapids, you couldn't paddle against the rapids. I didn't know how he would get there, but I knew he would. And a few minutes later, I saw the other people pointing, and I looked, and Mark was in the woods, and he was about to jump into the water, and I thought the water was deep because I couldn't touch bottom where I was. And he just said, "Mom, you have to trust me." He said, "Trust your life jacket. You have to let go." And I thought, I can't let go. The river will take me down. "Mom, trust your life jacket." So I managed to get my feet untangled from all the roots, and I almost forgot to grab the paddle, and I started going back for it, and I heard Mark screaming, "What are you doing?" And I got the paddle, I let go of everything, and the young people had formed a chain across the river. The water really wasn't very deep there, but it was very, very powerful, and I was already weak, and I'm old, and I can't do things like I used to. And they were standing there waiting to grab me, and they pulled me back to shore. I couldn't stand up without help. My pants were falling down because I had drug across the rocks, and I was conscious of that. And Mark talked to the young people and told them, when you see something like this, of course he was a little more forceful, make a decision and help. Could be your mom. And then he fell back in the water and said, "Mom, let's go see the kids." And I had to go to him. I had to go to him because I knew that was the only way we were going to get back to Eden and Ellie and Evan and Elias and Melissa. I had to trust the life jacket and I had to trust Mark. But even bigger, I had to trust God to make sure that we got there. And even if we didn't get there, that it would still be okay. We got back to finally met up with all the rest of them, and they played in the water for a little bit, and we managed to get back in the kayaks and finish the trip. Didn't plan on capsizing. Was afraid I would. And sure enough, I did. If I do it again, I'll know better what to do.
So it was a beautiful day. We were kayaking. So let me kind of tell you, Evan and I were in a tandem kayak, and everybody else had their own single kayak. And it was a beautiful day. The clouds were blocking the sun, so we weren't overly hot. And we had been going through several of they're not really rapids, but like strong current types. You know, the awful part where it just kind of spins a kayak around until you figure out your bearings and you're able to paddle straight again. That was a chore. But we had already successfully navigated several of those opportunities that the river provided. And we were more than halfway through our trek. And then it happened. So as we were going along, because I was in the tandem, I was further back so I could see everything, which is a great perspective to be able to have on a trip like this. We could hear the troubled waters before we even made it to it. They all got so far ahead, and it was me. So as we were traveling along, we were a little bit more than halfway through the river, and we could hear the water, the troubled water up ahead. So I told Evan, all right, let's get behind Daddy. Left, right, keep your paddle in the water just like Daddy said. We're going to make it. No worries. So Mark, Eden, and Elias were way ahead of everybody. I'm sorry, not Elias. It was Mark, Eden, and Ellie were quite ahead. And then it was kind of Beby, Elias, and me and Evan in the back kayak. And I don't know, like Mark has done this so many times before, and Eden's just kind of a natural. So they just kind of all through that troubled water like nothing. It all happened like slow motion. Can't even believe. So it's this kind of water that has the currents that can spin you around like you're in a bathtub drain. It was awful. Evan and I had already experienced that a couple of times. So I was like, Evan, left, right. And I'm trying to steer at the back of the boat. And up ahead, I hear Beby go, uh-oh, or something to that effect. I can't remember exactly because everything after that just happened in slow-mo. She got stuck in the branches of a tree. And I couldn't do anything. I was far back. She got tangled in the branches. And I saw it. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even reach out my paddle. I was too far away, trying not to spin around and around with my own precious child in the kayak. And it was like slow motion. She tried to reach for a branch to kind of like settle herself. And the kayak went. Oh, and out she went. I couldn't see her. She was gone. Luckily, Jesus was with her. Out she came from the top, but the kayak was going down the river. Elias, really on top of it, started paddling toward his grandmother to save her like a young man. And he gets over there and he's trying, but he's fighting the rapids and he's trying with all his might to fight against the current. And he gets to her, but she can't reach the boat. And he slowly is taken back by the current. So I told Beby, hang on, Beby. And I call for Mark. Mark! Your mama! Mark! I can't see him. I can't hear him. I don't know where him and Eden went. Ellie is stuck in the rapids, kind of spinning and trying to find her own way back towards the calm waters. And Elias, come on, let's work together. Let's get this kayak. And so we were able to kind of stay between it to kind of keep it in a pathway to try to get it to shore or to catch it and hold on to it. But we weren't out of the troubled waters yet. And I don't know what happened, but Evan and I started our spin. Oh, the dreadful spin. It's so hard to get out of that. We caught up to Mark. He's like, "Where's Mom?" I'm like, "She's out of her boat." So we were trying to then lasso the kayak. Mark had to go after that because it got past me in the whole spinning escapade. I saw Eden clutching to the side of the bank, waiting for everyone to be reunited. Mark's trying to get us to latch on with Eden, but the current was just too hard to fight against, and it took Evan and I further down. And then poor Ellie, she went past even us. Mark was able to get to shore and get Elias out, and then Elias and Mark were able to stand there on shore cheering me, Evan, and Ellie to get to them. And we fought with all of our might to try to get to the shore. And so we were able to. It was so scary having to get out of the water and leave, knowing that Beby was still stuck in a tree and Ellie was still, poor little Ellie, 10-year-old Ellie, trying to fight against the current all by herself. I felt like a horrible mom leaving her in that water. But Mark said it was the safest thing to do. So we got out, and Ellie was able to manhandle that river, and she made it to the shoreline. And as soon as Mark knew we were all safe, he took off into the darkness looking for his mama.
So then they came to the shore, and Beby was on the shore with Dad.
We all were kayaking at this day, and that's when my dad said, "Dodge this tree over here at the left." My grandmother did not do that. She kept drifting into it. She was paddling, she was trying to paddle away, but it didn't go. Once she was touching the tree, she flipped over in her kayak. She still had her paddle in her hand. She was floating, and she was holding on to the tree. Her kayak was loose. That's when my dad went to go get it. My mom told me, "Try to go get Beby." And I'm like, okay. So I was trying to go. After a few moments, when I was like 30 yards away from her, I just hopped out of the boat and just went against the current. My grandmother told me, "Elias, get back in the boat." I'm like, "I can't leave you. Get back in the boat." So I finally got in the boat. I went to Dad. Eden she paddled to a shore and was okay. And she was asking, "Where's Beby? Is she okay?" I was crying at this moment. I'm like, "She's over there, still stuck in the tree." And I was crying because I felt her. I went to shore where my dad was. He pulled up everybody else. My mother went to go get Eden, the one that was asking where was Beby, my grandmother.
In the beginning, we were just having a great time, and then we were doing great, fighting against the currents. And then when we were getting closer to the end, there was one more current to fight against, and all of a sudden there was this big tree, and Beby was on the side, and she was heading towards the tree. I tried to help her by giving her my paddle and helping her grab it, but she was too far away. And so once that happened, I slowed down. I was like, "Mom, she's about to flip over." And then we saw her me and Mom saw her flip over in slow motion. She's like, like that. And so Mom started yelling at Dad, screaming, Mark, Mark, get over here, Mark, your mom's fell out of the boat, Mark. And then so Dad and Eden were all so far ahead, we don't know if they heard us. So I started going ahead and seeing where they were. Eden was grabbing
Clutching.
onto a stem on the side. And then Dad was so far ahead, I was like, Beby's hung up on a tree, help her. And then so he started coming, and then the canoe me and Mom tried to get, and because it was just floating against the floating, and then so me and Mom got the canoe. Well, I got the canoe with my paddle, and then Mom tried to help me, and then then it drifted off of our boats, and then Dad tried to get it, and then Dad and Elias helped us on shore. Elias was crying, and he said, I left Beby, I'm so sorry, she's gonna die, like that. And then Dad helped us all onto the shore. Evan had to go pee, and then I had to go pee, but I never could get it out, and because I was so scared, and I was being so super tense. And then so while I was fighting against the current before we got onto shore, I kept spinning and spinning, and I kept praying. I was like, God, give me your strength so I can fight against this current. And then I finally caught up to Mom, and then she was trying to hold on to a limb, and then all the limbs broke because she was holding on to my boat, and then I was holding on to hers, and then Dad told Mom to let go of my boat, and she's like, no, I'm not leaving my child, no. And then Dad was able to grab Mom's boat on shore, and then I kept paddling to get to the shore too, but then I kept spinning and spinning and drifting off, so I tried to get my pedal into the ground to stop spinning, and then all of a sudden I was on shore the next thing I knew.
So it started off when we were kayaking, and we were having a great time, and we were on our last rapids. I was right behind Dad because I didn't want him to get mad at us for being so behind, and I want to be close to him when he started saying something. So just before we turned around the bend, I heard someone yell or scream, and and then I turned around and I saw someone hanging onto a tree half in the water, and I saw the rest of them around her. And then I turned back to Dad and I was like, Dad, someone fell into the water. And I don't know what he did next. I don't remember for sure exactly what he did, but I turned around trying to paddle back over there, realizing it was Beby. And so I tried the hard I could, as hard as I could, and then Dad said to go to the shore. I tried, and I passed him a little bit, so I just grabbed a stem and went to shore. And then I don't remember seeing Ellie, but I saw Mom and Evan. I tried reaching for them so they could come next to me, but then they were too far, and then they drifted off. And then sometime later, Dad moved back a little bit so he could get Beby just before I saw Mom and Evan. And then a few minutes later, I saw Elias paddling while crying, and I was like so scared because I know he was near Beby. I was like, Elias, where is Beby? And he was like, she's over there. And I was like, okay, I just need to know if she's not underwater or on the shore. I didn't know. And so then he passed by me. A couple of minutes later, I was rocking my kayak back and forth so on the shoreline so I could was rocking back and forth so I could get on shore. And then I was standing on the land and didn't know what to do. All I could hear was voices that I couldn't make out. So I called Mom and I asked her if she was okay and if Elias was okay because I saw him crying. And I asked where are they at and stuff like that. And then I started hearing people talking and voices I'd never heard before. And I said, Mom, I can hear someone talking around the bend. Let me just try to make out what they're saying. And so it sounded like the teenagers that we met before we started kayaking. And it seemed like they were talking to Beby. And a few minutes later, I heard Dad scream, woohoo, something like that. And I was like, oh, he must have found Beby. And I kept hearing, are you okay? Are you okay? I was like, he's near Beby. And a few minutes later, I saw Dad holding Beby while he's on his bag as a thing. And I tried reaching for them so they could come near me. And they were like, no, just follow us, okay? And so then we all went back together. But here was the scariest part. Beby almost drowning. I know she would survive, but I was still praying that she would not drown. But the scariest part is when you're by yourself and someone's in need of rescuing, because you're by yourself, don't know what to do, no one's there with you, and you have no idea what's happening. So you're like, what do I do? Because if Dad wouldn't have gone through the river, I would have never known. So it was fun.
Well, let me clear some things up. Everything you've heard is a lie. I'm going to tell you the real story about what happened. I had the wild idea of taking my kids up to Oklahoma to go kayaking, or as Eden would say, kayaking. I'm going to call it kayaking for the rest of my life because I can't get the word kayaking out of my head. I actually think it sounds better, kayaking. So anyway, jeez, easy. I am the kayaking king. I'm pretty good at it, and I really like it. I'm not good at a lot of things in life, but that's one of the things where I'm better than average. And I don't go as much as I'd like to, but every time I go, oh, I love it, and it agrees with me very much. So I thought, I knew that you had to be 6 years old or older to go on a kayaking trip, and I didn't want to leave any of my kids behind, and I'd never taken Melissa. Evan finally turned 6 last July, but she was still a little young. She was about to turn 7 in a few days, and I thought, she's practically already a year older than she has to be, so I could technically take my whole family without having to break any kind of rules, but you know me. So, in this process, I thought, you know, it might also be a good idea to take Mom along. You know, so she can watch the kids. You know what I'm saying? So, anyhow, all 7 of us come up to Oklahoma, where I've rented a cabin. So all of a sudden, we're coming up to Oklahoma. I've reserved some kayaks. I knew Evan, the little one, would have to be in a kayak by herself, you know, because I know so much about kayaking. And that's the truth. I've been up here like 30 times. Been on this river, lost 2 wedding rings on it, all from the same marriage, but 2 wedding rings. Still got a 3rd, so I came with extras this time because, you know, I'm a king of kayaking. I know what to expect. So, Mom's never been. She's 67 years old and geriatric. So, you know, probably mind is losing a little bit of faculties. Her muscles don't work the way they used to. She's got 2 non-original knees. So, we're working with some stuff there. Evan, so mom's in her 60s, Evan's in her 6s. And I'm chewing them from both ends. I think I can handle this. Anyhow, all of a sudden, we're on the lake. There's a lot that happened before that. I'm skipping to the end because I suck at telling stories. We're on the lake, and I'm trying to teach them, just kind of the lay of the land. Push the paddle this way, you go that way, but turn. Push that this, and you can also go backwards. Eden didn't know you could go backwards. So anyhow, it was a good time showing them how to turn their whole kayak. And I'm telling them, finally, they're thinking, this is a piece of cake. We're in like 5 feet of water. What's there to be afraid of? And I'm like, well, this isn't all the river's going to offer you. It's not that rough of a river as far as I'm concerned. But, if you're not careful, you could get into trouble. Yeah, you could die. So, I'm out there on the water with my mother, my wife, and she's tiny and weak and never been kayaking before. I'm the only one that's ever really been kayaking at all. I get there, I'm the kayak king. So I get out there, kayak king. So I get out there on the water. For the first, we're doing the 5 mile because they don't want to do the 8 mile because the 8 mile has a waterfall, which pissed me off because I wanted to do the waterfall. But come on, we'll do that next time. So all of a sudden, we get into our first little bit of ripples. There's a team of 20-year-old teenagers. They're all like 22 to 22 years old, but they're all teenagers. You know what I'm talking about. Like, they're not even as responsible as millennials. The millennials pick on these kids for not knowing anything. It's pretty pathetic. So we passed them. They got out there in front of us. I said, let them get in front of us. I don't want to deal with all their knuckleheaded chicanery and all their ridiculousness. Mooning people. My children are right there. I'm sure that's kind of, they're probably going to, crap in the water. So we let them go way on ahead of us. I was giving kayak lessons. They're paddling on. Kayak lessons, getting further away, kayak lessons. Finally, I think it's time to go. We start going. We get about 2 miles into this 5 mile run, and lo and behold, we catch up to the 20-something teenagers. The guys that were in their 20s, but they were all teenagers somehow. About 4 girls, about 8 guys. All of them are trying to show off for the 4 girls. And they weren't. The girls, not really were showing off for. But anyhow, everybody's beautiful in their own way. So, as I passed by them, I said, "Hey guys, I know what you are doing." And they all looked at me kind of confused, and I thought, "Yeah, I'll stop for a bathroom break." And everybody kind of turned and looked like. So they all got out in the water to pee in the water. I know what's going on. I've been kayaking before. When you're on a 5 mile run and it takes 2 hours and you're drinking a lot of water and you need to use the bathroom, you just use the bathroom. So don't do it in the kayak because then you're going to sit in your pee for the rest of the trip and that's not fun. But jump out, take a little swim, relieve yourself, jump back in the boat, go. There's 98 trillion fish in the world. Every one of them go to the bathroom 3 times a day in the water that we drink. So, I don't want to hear it. Moving on. All of a sudden, we get to our first thing. That water likes to push you around. You got to keep a paddle in the water. I kept telling them, paddle, don't panic. That's the phrase. Paddle, don't panic. Don't freak out. Don't let the river will take control if you let it. It is in control, but don't let it have all the control. Always keep a paddle in the water. You're trying to maneuver at some point, some way. The biggest problem I know is not the rapids, it's not the rocks, it's those limbs and trees in the water on the edge. Don't be shoved up to the side because that's where the current can either be extremely strong or extremely calm. You got to know these things. So, and by the way, the ripples on the top of the water don't really tell the whole story. It could be calm looking and be very, as Corey Fortune would say, swoof. Which means it's running fast. It can look really bumpy and go really slow. So it's not always one or the other. You gotta kind of get experienced, like me. So I'm trying to keep them together. I'm trying to keep my people together. We've passed these 20-year-old, 13-year-olds, teenagers, and I'm trying to keep, and I'm trying to slow down, and I'm trying to keep Ellie where the 10-year-old goes, and Elias is over there doing what the 12-year-old does, and Eden's doing the 13-year-old thing, and Evan's dipping her hand in the water. That's her kayaking trip. Her kayaking trip was a putting a hand in water trip. So Melissa's trying to unexperienced kayak a tandem boat, which is not recommended. I should have been in the tandem boat. Turns out, foreshadowing. Glad it didn't happen. Also, teenagers peeing in the water. Foreshadowing. So all of a sudden, we're doing pretty good. Made it through the first couple. We get pretty much the last piece of rough water we're going to see. And there's trees laid over, and you can miss them by a mile if you look way ahead and play some chess and go, I need a position here so that way I won't be shoved into that tree. I shoot through the chute first. I tell everybody to get on my 6. I've explained to them what 6 means. They know. 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6. Everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. So everybody's getting on my 6, and I'm shooting the chute right where you need to shoot it so that way you don't hit the trees and you also don't hit the rocks and possibly barrel roll in those rapids. You want to hit the smoothest, most center part. Get right there in the crevice. All of a sudden, I go through. Eden comes through right after me. Good job. Elias and Ellie, Ellie's next. Ellie comes through, and it's basically we got now 2 groups. Mom, Melissa, which is Mom, Evan, Grandma, Beby, and Elias. They're in a group of 4. Me and the oldest and the older girls are in a group of 3, and we've already made it through the chute. They did great. In fact, Ellie blasted through a tree at one point. I thought, no, she did okay. I was worried about Ellie, and she like a champ. Eden, didn't she do good? All right.
Yes.
So, Mom drifts over into a tree that had laid over. She hits the branch. Melissa and Evan made it through, and Mom's trying to get out from underneath this branch. She knows it's a problem. She's trying to paddle out. I was already about a quarter mile down the river. It was so fast, I couldn't stop. I hear in the last couple of feet of hearing, I heard a blood-curdling scream that included my name. And I thought, that can't be good. Then I heard Melissa say 4 times my name. She may have said it more, but I couldn't hear it after that. It was so far away. I heard her say, Mark, 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 Mark. And I thought, oh my God, what has happened? And I hope Mom doesn't mind me saying this. I was hoping I thought Mom was screaming that Elias had gone under or something. So I've turned my kayak, and against this current, I started paddling back to my family. As I'm pretty much treading water because I'm trying to see who's coming through and what my next move is, because they may all be fine in a minute. You know, the river. You know, you get freaked out 1 second, and then next thing you're like, I don't know why I was so scared. So all of a sudden I see Melissa and Evan coming through, and they're doing this swirly whirly. Elias is coming through, and I can tell he's upset about something. And then I see a boat capsized. No paddle. And Mom is nowhere. So I'm like, she barrel rolled, stood up in this 2 foot of water, and walked to the shore. And she's just standing there waiting for someone to come get her. That's what I thought. So I saw the look on Melissa's face. Eden and Ellie had gone down the river a little further. They were trying to paddle like me, but they couldn't tread the water. And so while they're paddling, I finally told them to get to the side of the water where the water's calm, there's no current. And they finally, Ellie worked so hard. And I'm sitting there thinking, Mom's up there waiting on the shoreline, snug as a bug, waiting for me to bring her boat back. I couldn't see her. We'd gone around a bend. I couldn't see anything. Couldn't hear anything. So all of a sudden, Melissa and Evan are trying to get to my side. I found a little rock patch where I could pull the boats up. I was going to get them all positioned and tied off. Melissa and Evan were trying to get to the side of the river. I was like, you need to come over here. They tried 3 times to get on my side of the river. Ended up on the other side of the river every time. It was a freaking miracle. I was impressed. I don't know how it happened. It was unbelievable. The fourth time they tried, they did manage to get close enough for me to pull them out of the water and get them up on shore. Then Ellie, little train that could, she just chewing away. She finally got up there. I didn't. You may ask what happened to Eden. Well, Eden did exactly what I asked her to do, exactly the way I asked her to do it. So she was safely tucked up underneath some trees about the place that I had turned around and started treading water. She went a little bit further down, but not all the way. Got her up against, and she was just sitting there hanging out, chilling. Did I leave my boat there?
No.
You were there? Okay, so you were there
I was by myself.
You were by yourself. So all of a sudden, I'm doing this. I'm trying to get them off. What I failed to mention was there was a boat capsized, right? I need that boat. Mom's got to get in that boat. I'm the kayak king. I grab Mom's boat, pull it up on the bow of my kayak, and I start paddling against the current with two boats. I don't mean to brag, but come on, man, that was pretty awesome. Foreshadowing. I get up to the shoreline, do all the thing. I'm trying to wrangle the family. Elias finally makes it to me. He doesn't go past me. He comes straight in. I'm able to pull him in. He's helping the girls get out. Eden comes down there. They're got all 5 kayaks. They're all positioned. They got all 6. Did we have 5 kayaks? We had all 6 kayaks there, all 7 paddles, because there was a tandem with 2 paddles. And I look up the river and realize there was a little patch, of course, a little patch, but I had to go through another part of a river that offshoot. So I took off, hauling butt up to Mom. Probably easily, probably a quarter mile. I don't want to exaggerate. Probably a quarter mile. So anyway, I go trekking through the woods about 15 miles. I get up to the banks. There's briars, thorns, bushes, so thick a rabbit couldn't find it through. And I just gorillaed over all of the foliage. Thorns, I still got a thorn right there in my hand. I still got some in other regions of my body I don't want to discuss in front of my daughter. I've got scratches all over my arms, and then I got a sunburn on top of those scratches. I can't. My muscles are too big. I can't roll my sleeves up. So I am traipsing through here. I see the ground dug up by hogs, and it scared. I'm more scared of a hog than I am a bear or a cougar. Hogs are vicious. I didn't want to come into contact with any of these hogs, so I picked up a stick. 'Cause I can kill a hog with a stick. Hauling butt through there. Didn't stop. Started getting tired. It was a quarter mile, all right? So this is going to take me 20 minutes to get to Mom. I finally, as I'm getting close, I hear the water rushing. I've cut through a large portion of the water because I knew that it bent, so I tried to take the corner, right? I go through a big chunk of land, hitting briars all the way, the whole way. I didn't stop hitting thorns. Finally, I get close to the edge, and I'm giving a whistle. The kids are probably going to run up and interrupt this video now. So I finally get to the finally get to the bank and I get up and I see a couple of life jackets and colored people, and I'm still trying to get through. I finally break it through the edge, and I immediately see all those 20-year-old teenagers are standing next to the bank, just kind of like, thumbs up their butts. What do we do? And they're just like, don't get me wrong. I'm glad they stopped. That's just, it would be inhumane. But they were just standing there. And I screamed, "Where's my mom?" As if they knew who I was and who my mom was, but I think they figured out, like, whatever they stopped for obviously was related to my mom, because they stopped right where she had fallen, apparently. And they all pointed into the river. And I thought, that's not a good sign. So all of a sudden, I look down into the river, and there is a tree that has fallen over, and I see my mom pinned up against one of the branches, head above water, and she's crying, terrified and scared. And I knew right then we were okay. So I knew she was scared, so I tried to calm her down. So I went, "Woo-hoo!" Like, this is the best adventure we've ever had. And, as scary as it was pretty adventurous. The kids looked confused. And I said, Mom, I got down. She goes, Mark, don't come out here and get me. Then you're going to get hurt. And I said, Mom, she didn't know what I knew. And she was scared to death, hanging on this tree, so she's not thinking straight. And I said, Mom, trust your life jacket. And she, like, I think she thought she was going to drown. But she had a life jacket on. And the waters, as rough as they were, we're not talking about Category 5 rapids in Colorado. We're in Oklahoma. Come on. So she's pinned into this tree, and I know that if she wiggles just right, she may get unpinned. As long as she's not in a V, her legs in a V, and she's like a vice grip on her. If she's just pinned up against it, she could easily roll out of that. So I said, trust your life jacket. So I look down and I see some rocks where I'm at. She starts to roll out. I jump down out into the river. All these kids still just watching this happen. Oh, and by the way, it was so loud. The water was so loud. Mom said, she kept asking, what am I saying? And I kept telling her, trust her life jacket. I finally just yelled it, screaming my voice, at the top of my voice. And she understood what I was saying. And when she started rolling out, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to get out there and get pinned in the same way. But I knew that she was in about 2 to 3 feet of water. Now, in a current, that's dangerous. I'm not going to lie. But if you hold yourself right, that life jacket does its job. It does. So she finally got out. These do-nothing 20-something-year-old teenagers finally made like a barrel of monkeys thing, a human chain, and they were able to kind of get out there and get her, which did nothing because I was already out there, and I basically caught Mom, and they had gotten to her, and they were trying to help her up. But I got out there. I literally walked through the river, right there where the current was bad. I walked through there, and the kids stood there. These 20-year-old, 13-year-olds thought, what manner of man is this? And so I got angry at the kids, and I was like, if this was y'all's mom, would y'all behave the same way? I was like, this river, like, opened a can on you guys today. It tore y'all up. I said a lot of things I probably shouldn't have, but I gave them kind of a secondhand lion speech right then and there. Mom can corroborate this later. I'm sure her video left all that out. Like I said, everything you've heard from this video, anybody else you've heard, it's a lie. They don't mean to lie. I'm just telling you the real truth. So about that time, I was challenging these young kids to snap out of their stupidness and be smartedness and be strong and overcome. Even when the raging rapids come in your life, hit it head on and don't be a scaredy cat. Handle your business. Take care. Take charge. Get it done. And she's kind of giving them kind of a what for. And I look at Mom. I said, Mom, are you okay? She's like, yes. She's crying. And I said, so I stood in the middle of the river and I nest-heaved, plunged back, and I said, let's go get the kids. And I fell back into the water. And Mom still didn't understand. I don't think she fully understood what we were doing. We weren't getting out of the river. We were going to stay in the river and float to the kids. And that's exactly what we did. Floated all the way down to the kids. We sat there, had a good laugh, jumped in the kayak, and made the last mile of the trip. No problem whatsoever. Here's the thing. Life comes at you. It does. And I'm trying to be silly, but it was a pretty serious situation that happened. It actually was a pretty serious situation. If Mom had known how shallow the water was, she couldn't tell. I can understand that. Had she known just how shallow the water was, probably been a little bit different. Had she been out there before and experienced, probably a little bit different. Thank God for the life jacket. I do want to point out my mom, after she trusted my words and trusted that life jacket, she kind of rolled off that limb, and the limb kind of came up from underneath her. She forgot the paddle. And she said she thought, I'm not going to lose that $40 paddle, because they charge you $40 if you lose your paddle. So she stood up in the middle of the river and went back against the current she was just trapped in to get the paddle. And that should tell you, sometimes life comes at you hard, and there are real dangerous situations. I'm telling you, if you calm down, deep breath, pay attention, God provides you a way out. It was a serious situation, and we were able to teach the kids a lot of really cool things from this. And I hope Mom doesn't swear off kayaking for the rest of her life. It was a genuine traumatic experience, but on hindsight, I think we realized that it maybe wasn't as dangerous as we thought. Could have turned out a lot worse. That's the truth. Just because something's not dangerous doesn't mean it's not deadly. That's a stupid statement, but it actually has some truth to it. So, that being said, trust my words. I'm blast on Mohicans through the woods, got my mom, floated through the river, undetected. People were shooting at us, there was people trying to kill us. We made it. I got the family home safe, and that's what's important.
Dad went into the darkness. I was like, Mom, I need to go pee. And then she said, well, go sit down right over there and pee through your pants. I was like, okay, fine. And then I done it, and I was like, I peed on a stump.
Self-destruct sequence activated. 3, 2, 1.